Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Sachi's route. In the last episode, Sachi was dealing with some horrible nightmares, a flashback of the time when she saw her mother and father be hit by a truck, with her father instantly dying and her mother in a vegetable state ever since. However, Sachi remembers the last words that came out of her mother's mouth before she passed out, which was, "Sachi, why?" Obviously, that is not a very concise answer, and Sachi has been pondering and been feeling guilt about their death ever since. In fact, so much that it caused her to become the person that she is now. Yuuji, in discovering that Sachi had these nightmares, then tried to help as best as he could, going as far to realize that he needed to get rid of the source of these nightmares. In his fortunate package from Sachi's uncle, who she had been staying with for a while after her parents' demise. And Yuuji, in this package was a key to the warehouse, to the workshop where Sachi's family had their business. A place that hadn't been touched since the accident because of Sachi's uncle. Sachi's uncle believed that that place held the key to ridding Sachi of that horrible memory, and Yuuji thought that it was the appropriate time. Let's continue. To end my persistent nightmares, I need only to kill the source. 5 days after Yukon spoke those words to me, I've arrived in the town where I spent the earliest years of my life. I'm here to pay a visit to my mother, sleeping even now in the local hospital. In this, as in so many other things, I was guided by Yukon's advice. There's only one thing for you to do about these nightmares. Kill the source. Kill? That's right. Your sin won't be forgiven. It's just not possible. If you want to free yourself from this guilt, you've got no choice but to eliminate its source. The source of my guilt? Are you telling me to kill my own? That's up to you. Huh? I'm telling you to kill. That's it. You got plenty of options and there's more than one answer here. I can't make that decision for you. You have to do this yourself. Presented with this new problem, I began with a serious consideration of the word kill. Interpreting it literally, he was telling me to deprive someone of their life, to cause death. From there I could find only two plausible answers. The first, as had immediately occurred to me, was to kill my mother. The second was to kill myself, to end my own life. But even now, I'm not confident that I correctly identified the options of which Yukon spoke. True, killing my mother might put an end to my fear of her final question. And if I die, I will no longer even be capable of suffering or feeling guilt. But fundamentally, I can't help feeling that the act of killing itself is a very extreme way of approaching these problems. Killing my mother would make me a criminal, and killing myself would mean leaving this world behind. In either case, of course, I would no longer be with Yukon. If these were the answers you wanted me to find, was Yukon lying when he said that he loved me? My thoughts ran in circles. Before I knew it, 5 days had flown by and I was no closer to an answer. In the end, Yukon was unable to hold his silence. No matter what decision you're going to make, you should see your mother first. I think you're capable of that now, Sachi. It's only been a few hours since she spoke those words. See my mother? The moment I heard his proposal, my heart thudded heavily in my breast. Since the day of the accident, my mother has never spoken, never even opened her eyes. She's been reduced to a living symbol of my indelible sin. And if Mom really does resent me, she might not even want to see my face. These very thoughts have kept me from visiting her for many years now. Not to say that the visits I paid her in those first weeks were worthy of the name. Since that horrible day, I've never once managed to spend any real time with her. Perhaps Uncle Akihiro understood how I felt. He didn't challenge me on the matter or even encourage me to make the trip. In that case, there was no real reason for me to visit the hospital, or so I allowed myself to believe. But in truth, I've just been making selfish excuses. I was running away from my mother. That neglect is proof enough that I never really overcame my guilt toward her. I was simply hiding from it. As long as I permit myself that cowardice, it may well be impossible to find a meaningful answer to my current dilemma. And so I resolved to face up to what I had refused to acknowledge for so long. That said, do I have no choice but to kill? What could he have meant? Of course, speaking the question out loud doesn't get me any closer to an answer. Yukon's always 3 or 4 steps ahead of me and thinking on a far higher level. This puzzle must have a meaning, and I want very badly to reach the answer he found. But even so, I must admit I find myself disturbed. Merely speaking the word kill leaves a bitter aftertaste on my tongue and a sharp ache in my stomach. But I can't just give up now. I haven't even managed to see Mom yet. Excuse me, I'd like to pay a visit to a patient. Yes, first of all, can I have your name and address here, please? After filling out some paperwork at the nurse station, I'm provided with the directions to my mother's sickbed. The procedure hasn't changed, neither has Mom's hospital room. Everything is exactly the same as it was on that day. At one point, a nurse I recognize from my time here calls out to me. Is that you, Sachi? Will you be alright alone, dear? I answer with a polite, yes, I'll be fine, and proceed down the hallway without breaking my stride. But when I finally arrive in front of my mother's hospital room, my breath catches in my throat. And with that, as a signal, my previously functional legs abruptly turn to clumsy leaden stumps. My head begins to throb violently. It's been many years now. Maybe it won't hurt like it did back then. I was a fool to believe such nonsense for even a moment. My body knows that something painful waits behind that door, and it's not shy about registering its objections. Mom's anguished, bloody face flashes unbidden before my eyes. Before I know it, I've begun to hyperventilate. Gradually, even standing grows perilously difficult, and I find myself leaning heavily against the corridor wall. Hold on, Sachi, are you okay? Yes, I'm alright, please. Alright, but if it gets to be too much, call for someone right away, okay? Thank you very much. Apparently sensing something of the desperation I feel from the expression on my face, the nurse kindly withdraws. To tell the truth, I don't even remember what I said to her just now. Just keeping myself conscious is taking every ounce of effort I can muster. It's alright. It's alright. Trying very hard to convince myself of that, I forcefully throw open the door of the room, letting the momentum carry me stumbling inside. Instantly my eyes find my mother's face peeking out from above the sterile white sheet covering her lower body. But the person sleeping in that bed is utterly unlike the mom who remains so clearly in my memories. Her cheeks are thin to the point of emaciation, the color of her skin is pale and waxy as that of a corpse. And yet, seeing her transformed like this brings back with astonishing clarity that awful moment when I was first guided into the intensive care unit, the first time I saw what had become of her. She lay there in a nest of unfamiliar machines. A huge oxygen mask covered her mouth. Her body was pierced with IV cables. Medical tubing connected her to strange electronic equipment, and even as machines hissed and clicked around her, my mother simply lay there, so still it seemed she'd been transformed to stone. When I saw her there, I remember feeling the same way I do now. She isn't the mom I knew anymore, and she never will be again. Hey, why did my mom end up like this? Because she was hit by a truck. Okay then, why was she hit by a truck? Because you were a selfish little girl. Huh? That's right. You're the one who made me into this, Sachi. Ah! 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 The words echo forcefully through my head as though someone's drilled a hole in my skull and whispered them directly into my brain. Cold sweat seeps from my forehead, my stomach begins to contract spasmodically with an ominous creaking growl. Ha! 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 There's a familiar sensation of warmth draining steadily from my body. It's the same chill that usually accompanies the onset of my flashbacks. Tears roll in neat lines down my face, so cold I expect them to freeze against my cheeks. It's fortunate that I didn't eat anything before this trip. Had I chosen to stop for lunch, I'd likely be vomiting it up right now. That was the usual conclusion to my visits in the old days. I would empty my stomach, a nurse would come running up, and that would be that. But today's different. Today, no one ushered me in here. I came of my own free will, resolved to face this. Yugen told me I should see my mother. That advice was an implicit affirmation of his trust in me. He believes I'm capable of this visit. I can't give up now. It's simply not an option. I've come this far to put an end to my nightmares. I won't allow myself to turn back. Clinging with all the stubborn determination I can muster to that simple decision, I somehow managed to hold myself together through the worst of it. And eventually, through an enormous effort of will, I'm able to shakily lower myself into the folding chair that sits at the side of the bed. Oh, I had forgotten about this background. Oh. How many hours have passed since I collapsed into this chair? It feels like only moments ago, but the sun's already sinking low in the sky, the unlighted rooms illuminated by a warm orange glow from the window behind me. Now that I think more carefully, it must have taken nearly an entire hour to calm myself to the point where I could gaze at Mom's face like this. But it's been many hours since then, and I've gone no further. No words, no movement. I spent the afternoon glued to this chair like a statue. I'm finally able to visit my mother. I can finally look her in the face again. There should be so many things to say, so many things to tell her, to ask her. But now that I'm actually gazing down her lined, impassive face, the words have betrayed me. They've melted into thin air, leaving no trace by which I might find them. Mom, At long last I'm able to speak a single word. Is it a greeting or a half-spoken question? I'm not sure myself. There is, of course, no response. Mom's in a deep coma because of the traumatic damage her brain sustained in that traffic accident. She hasn't answered a question or even spoken a word in many years now. My mother's doctor once said that the odds of her ever regaining consciousness were lower than my chances of hitting the jackpot in a national lottery. In other words, barring a miracle, she'll live out the rest of her days like this. A persistent vegetative state. This is her life now, incapable of movement, let alone feeding herself, kept alive on the whims of others like a potted plant. This is the life I've gave to my mother. With that thought, the nausea that had subsided earlier swells up in me once more. The suffering comes to me in unpredictable waves, with all the random malevolence of a curse. Weary and numb, I observe my own pain with a curious sense of detachment, and I reach my first real conclusion of the day. I see. This must have been what Yugen wanted me to understand. By visiting my mother for the first time in many years, by directly facing my guilt in its most raw and undiluted form, he wanted me to realize this. That so long as I live, I'll never simply be released from this suffering. My father's dead, my mother's sleeping, and she's never going to wake up. That's reality. This status quo isn't going to abruptly change for the better. All my guilt, all my attempts at atonement, no matter how sincere, can never overturn what's come to pass. Perhaps Yugen simply wanted me to recognize anew how truly crushing the weight of my own sin really is. On that day, the person I must have died with them. The answer isn't so complicated after all. Mom's the fountain of this guilt, and I'm the vessel that willingly accepts it. We're mutual culprits in these nightmares. So long as the two of us continue to cooperate, my suffering will go on indefinitely. In that case, So here's actually where you have to get the choice of Sachi's end, whether you want the good end or the bad end. And because we are only about 20 minutes into this episode, I think it's too early to cut it here. So, and in going for these, only going for the good endings, what you have to select here is I have to kill Mom. I guess I have to kill Mom. Mom's the source of my suffering. After leaving that terrifying final question, she spent years in constant sleep, little more than a living reminder of that tragedy. At the very least, her death would put an end to the pain even now racking my body, an end to the fear of her words. And if I want to be liberated from my nightmares, this may be the only means remaining to me. I am a weak person. I doubt there's a more selfish coward anywhere on the face of the earth. In order to protect myself from my unendurable guilt, I lied to myself for many years. I made the world simple and tried to erase who I was. But I can't tell myself that lie anymore. I can't betray Yukon, who went so far, very far, to make me realize my mistake. In that case, I've got no choice but to find a new way to run from the past. Namely, killing my mother. Maybe Mom's suffering in her own right, being kept alive in such a miserable state. Maybe she'd be happier going up to heaven where Dad's waiting for her, where she'll never have to see my face again. As soon as the idea crosses my mind, nauseatingly convenient excuses pop up one after the other. I'm a terrible daughter. Even after all the suffering my selfishness caused my parents, all I'm thinking about is how to make life easier for myself. Is there even blood running through my veins? Perhaps it would actually be for the best if I was branded a criminal and sent off to jail. Yes, a real prison where I could spend my entire life atoning for my crimes. Whatever people may say, I'm afraid Mihama's Academy are hardly suitable for the purpose. I mean, the days I spent there were very special to me. Michiro-sama, Maki-chan, Amanda-san, Sakaki-san, and Principal Tachibana. Everyone I met there was a truly kind-hearted person, and above all else it was the place where I reunited with Yukon. The place where he made me his girlfriend, where he told me that he loved me. It was all far more than I deserved. This would put an end to all that, to my unfair, unwarranted happiness. Therefore, I'm sorry, Mom. With the same words I always cry when escaping from my nightmares, I reached out and put my hands on my mother's neck. Hey, Sachi, what do you feel like eating tonight? You really are spoiled rotten, Sachi. A perfect score. Amazing, Sachi. I'm so proud of you. I can't possibly do such a thing. I loved her. I loved Mom so much. I loved her kindness and warmth, her wonderful smile. I loved our home, always filled with happiness and laughter. So no matter how much Mom and Dad may have come to hate me, no matter how bitterly they resent me, I can't resent them. I could never, ever hate them. Therefore, I can't kill Mom with my own hands. I just can't, no matter what. As I speak, Mom's face flashes before my eyes again and again. Her slightly embarrassed smile when someone said dinner was delicious. That proud grin when I told her about winning an art contest at school. The excited, happy expression she always had when talking about work with Dad. And many more, far too many to count, all as clear as day. The faces of the person I loved more than anyone else in the world. Why? And oddly enough, the next word to leave my mouth is the same one that's been tormenting me all this time. Why, Mom? Once the floodgates are open, my words won't stop. One after another, the feelings I've kept locked inside flow uncontrollably out of my mouth. Why did you suddenly grow so cold? Why did you start spending all your time at work? Why didn't you just come out and tell me that you hated me? If you'd at least told me, maybe I could have done something about it. And after all that, why were you so nice to me that one final morning? That accident never would have happened if things had been the same as always, right? So why were you different on that day and that day alone? Answer me, Mom. Please, Mom. I call out to my mother again and again, but no response is forthcoming. Her sleep is undisturbed. That's the nature of a persistent vegetative state. This is reality. I'll never hear her answer. I suppose I'm going to have to accept it. Accept that it and find a new way to carry on. If I can't run away, I have to move forward. But I'm so afraid. Afraid that you might finish that question in tonight's dream. That the next words out of your mouth will be full of blame and hate. That's why I came here with the intent of putting an end to those nightmares. But in the end, I couldn't do a thing. I can't kill the source of my guilt. I'm not capable of it. Even though I haven't visited Mom once since that accident. Even though she's always grimacing with hatred in my dreams. When I'm actually by her side, all I can see is a smiling face. Her smile bursting with happiness. The smile I loved so much. There's just no way I can kill her. Therefore, I'm sorry, Yuuji.
For what?
Huh?
You got nothing to apologize for, Sachi. You did fine.
As Sachi kneels on the linoleum floor, I move quietly to stand at her side. Yuuji?
I don't know much about your parents, but I think I have a pretty good idea of just how much you cared about them. When we talked in the park back then, you were always telling me stories about your mom and dad. Even after we reunited in Mihama, you brought up your parents many times. More than you realize, I think. You love them very much, and you still do. That much was obvious. And that's the exact reason why you've been so afraid, why you suffered so much. That's exactly why you've never been able to shake your guilt over causing that accident. It's the same with the final words your mother left you. You're tortured most of all by the thought that she might have hated you, that your parents might have resented you for what happened to them. So in the end, what you really want is to know your parents' feelings. Am I wrong?
You may be right.
In that case, why not find out?
Huh?
Find out exactly what your beloved parents really thought of you, with your own eyes.
That's ridiculous. How could I possibly... I mean, Dad's been gone for years and Mom's never going to wake up again. It doesn't matter how loudly I shout, my voice can no longer reach them. Under such circumstances, there's no way I could learn their feelings.
What if I told you it's possible?
What? I don't believe it. Even for you, there's no...
Have I ever lied to you before, Sachi?
Well...
Here's the thing. I don't know what you're going to find. For all I know, you might end up learning something you'll wish you hadn't. You might end up going through life bearing an even heavier burden than before. Are you prepared to take that risk and learn the truth?
Sachi squeezes her eyelids shut, breaking off in mid-sentence. For a long moment, she contemplates the question. And when they snap open again, the anxiety and uncertainty in her eyes has been replaced with a firm determination. I want to know how Mom and Dad felt. Visiting Mom like this has given me that resolve. No matter what the final outcome may be, I'm prepared to accept everything.
I see.
I can never manage to do the same myself. You really are a hell of a lot tougher than you look, Sachi.
Aww. Take my hand then.
What?
I'll show you what you really need to kill.
What I need to kill?
That's right. And no matter what answer you find in the place we're going next, I'll be your ally. You said you believe in me. Well, the feeling's mutual. I know you can do this, and if you find an answer that's too painful for one person to bear, I'll share the burden with you. I'll be there. That's not changing, no matter what.
You can...
Alright, I'm done. Want to go destroy the culprit behind your nightmares?
Oh. Yes. Leaving the hospital behind, I set off toward the residential district, Sachi at my side. Yukon, where exactly are you headed?
That's a surprise. You'll find out when we get there.
Is that so? I intentionally give Sachi a pretty pompous non-answer, but she doesn't take the bait. She probably is too concerned with the whereabouts of the truth I promised her to play along like she usually would. In an attempt to slightly ease Sachi's anxiety, I reach out and take her hand in mine. Yukon?
This help a little?
Yes, thank you very much. I can help Sachi see her mistakes. I can offer her reassurance and affection. But if she's going to be saved outright, that's not enough. Her parents need to step in. As for how they really felt about her, even Sachi, who spent many years with them, doesn't know. So maybe this is a little presumptuous of me. But personally, I don't think any parent loved this much by their daughter could possibly hate her in return. Huh? So you really were taking me to my home? As I come to a halt before a small house, Sachi finally allows herself to state the obvious.
To be more exact, we're heading to the workshop next door.
The workshop? I don't believe there's anything but machinery for manufacturing metal dies in there.
That a fact?
All I've heard from Sachi's uncle is that her parents seem to be up to something in that workshop a little before her birthday. But hidden in those words lies the answer Sachi's seeking. I'm pretty firmly convinced of that. That a fact? I don't understand. Why the workshop of all places?
Sachi?
Her mother's final question. Why? Now that the woman's in a coma, we'll probably never know for sure how she intended to finish that sentence. But if a parent who'd been planning something for her daughter's birthday wanted to say one thing at the end, I think it might have been something like this.
Why the long face? We got a surprise for you.
Huh?
The answer you have been seeking should be waiting in here.
The answer I've been seeking?
If you're ready to face it, open this door.
With those words, I take the aged middle key out of my pocket and unlock the workshop.
It's your decision whether to take that step. You can lock this door and walk away. And no matter what you choose, my feelings aren't going to change.
You can?
So don't worry about me or anyone else. One way or another, you need to put an end to this with your own two hands.
Yes. Nodding with a serious expression on her face, Sachi slowly closes her eyes. There's probably a whole torrent of conflicted feelings swirling around in her head right now. Terror that she'll discover proof of her parents resented her. Hope that she'll learn the opposite was true. I can almost see the tug of war between those powerful emotions shaking this small girl's heart. Even so, Sachi is capable of accepting the truth now, whatever it may be. I absolutely believe that. I've made my decision. I'm going to open this door. With that declaration, Sachi opens her eyes and stares firmly at the entrance to the workshop.
You sure about that?
Yes. It's rather odd. I'm quite firmly decided, but my body won't stop shaking.
Sachi?
But I'm not going to run away again. So please, would you be so kind as to lend me a little strength?
Yeah.
As Sachi's hand trembles against the cold iron, I reach out and overlap it with mine. We take 2 long, simultaneous breaths, then push open the heavy door. What is this? Her voice full of surprise, Sachi slowly advances inside. With every step, her eyes grow wider, full of confusion at the scene before her eyes. All of those machines are just gone, and this is... The workshop's not entirely empty. One wall is covered with dusty party decorations. A carefully arranged flock of photographs and certificates crowd the space, contrasting strongly with the dull grey wall behind. Happy birthday, Sachi? Most eye-catching of all is the large hand-lettered banner above. Sachi slowly reads the words aloud.
September 23rd. Today's your birthday, right?
Huh?
From what I hear, you haven't been to this place even once since the day of the accident.
Why do you know that?
Truth is, after you wrote that letter mentioning me, I had the chance to talk with your uncle over the phone. I asked about your parents' disinterest, and he told me about this place. He didn't know the details, but it seems as though your parents had been up to something here in the weeks before your birthday. He also told me that you had no idea about any of this.
So that's how you knew to bring me here.
To be honest, I was tempted to drag you over right away, but I knew that wasn't going to cut it. As long as you kept hiding from your mother, the person you transformed into a symbol of your guilt, you couldn't possibly face up to the past in a meaningful way. Unless you were prepared to accept anything, you'd be able to interpret whatever we found here as part of your warped narrative.
And that's why you told me to meet Mom before making a decision.
Yeah. You needed to be a blank slate, so to speak. Given a piece of paper filled to the margins with thick black letters, you have to erase before you can write something new.
You thought things through so thoroughly. You really are.
You really are amazing, Yukon. Your parents are the amazing ones here.
As I speak, I run my eyes carefully along the painstakingly decorated wall.
Getting all those machines removed without you realizing would have been hard enough. And these decorations are all handmade. It must have taken them days. They must have wanted very badly to surprise you, to make you happy.
Do you think so?
I didn't want you to kill your mother. Not the woman sleeping in that hospital bed, at least. That accident was too much for a child to process. Too terrifying. Too painful. Thanks to that overwhelming tragedy, you were imprinted with a hollow, false image. An image of two people who resented you and wanted you to suffer. A hateful illusion you mistook for your parents. That is what you needed to kill. In this place, time stopped on that day. Here's the reality, your real mom and dad's feelings. Preserved in amber.
Mom and dad's feelings? Repeating my words absent-mindedly, Sachi gently reaches out to touch the decorations on the wall. Sachi's first perfect test. Must have gotten her talent at math from me. Sachi painted a picture for Father's Day. I cried with happiness. I'll treasure it for the rest of my life. Sachi seems to like playing catch. Talked with Daddy. Maybe she'll be a softball player one day?
Today was sports day at Sachi's school. I ended up holding her back in the parent-child three-legged race. Think I'll have to start jogging.
I helped Sachi make her very first omelette. To be honest, she used a bit too much salt, but Daddy gobbled it up with a big smile on his face.
I found a test in the trash. Sachi got a perfect score in Japanese even though it is so weak a subject. I wish I told her how proud I was.
Along with a series of photographs chronicling the first decade of Sachi's life, the walls packed with tests, paintings and prize certificates. And on every single one there's a note from her parents, spelling out their feelings. They are the simple, earnest sentences of two people watching over their growing child with unabashed pride and affection. It's nothing less than a crystallization of pure parental love. I made those paintings years before and never got the chance to show them this test. Had they been holding on to all of these? Even though they stopped paying attention to me when work got busy? Just look at all these photographs they saved. And all those huge machines, where on earth did they? After all this time, her parents' feelings had finally laid bare. After all those years believing my mom and dad hate me. What Sachi's found here is completely incompatible with that long-standing delusion. She's so bewildered you can practically see the question marks floating over her head. Dropping her eyes from the wall of memories, Sachi finally notices the small wooden object sitting on a table on the far side of the room. This is the music box Mom and Dad love so much. And a letter.
Curious. Might as well read it.
The envelope, discolored by its long exposure to the sun, still bears the faint letters to Sachi. Seems they left her an answer after all. Sachi carefully opens the envelope to take out the letters she finds inside and begins to read it out loud. To Sachi. First of all, happy 10th birthday. Whew. First of all, happy 10th birthday. I know we should be saying all of this to your face, but lately the three of us haven't been able to talk that well. So we decided to try writing a letter. That night I tried very hard to write down everything we need to tell you, so we'd be happy if you read it to the end. And the very first thing we want you to know is that we're sorry, so very sorry for so many things. We got all caught up with our job and didn't make the time to play with you. We stopped watching your hard work and cheering you on. We ended up making you eat dinner alone more often than not. So please let us apologize for all of that, for everything. We really are very sorry, Sachi. But the one thing you have to know is that we absolutely never stopped caring about you. We never hated you. By working harder at our job, we thought we'd be able to make you happier. So when things picked up and we started having a little extra money to spend, your father and I were very happy. We thought, now we can give Sachi all sort of tasty food. We can afford to buy her lots of nice clothes. But you taught us something very important, Sachi. Instead of eating steak alone and listening to the machines clanging, you wanted to have curry with us. When you said that, the two of us realized that we had everything backward. What our family needed wasn't lots of money. Dad and I talked it over and we decided to change jobs together, so that we can spend lots more time with our daughter, who we love so much. So that we can all be together again in a warm and happy home. We wanted to make that your next birthday present, Sachi. But we love this workshop, and it would be sad if you hated it forever. So we decided to make this a place you could love as well, Sachi. Our answer was this album. We'd take out all the machines and use the workshop to store the memories of our soon-to-be happy family. Our personal records room. A family album like none other anywhere in the whole wide world. So from today on, let's all fill it up with lots more memories. Lots and lots, until this place bursting at the seams. We hope that might make you smile. Nothing would make us happier. Our single greatest joy in the world is seeing your cheerful smile, Sachi. If nothing else, I hope this letter conveys some small piece of those feelings to you. But while we're at it, we do have one more present for you. This music box is yours now. You're 10 years old today, so I guess it wouldn't be too odd for you to find someone you like pretty soon. My instincts are telling me this Yukon you play with at the park is the top candidate at the moment. Maybe it's just my imagination though. But whoever it may be, when you find someone who's truly precious to you, please listen to this music box with them. The melody you call gorgeous just might bring you happiness, the same way it did for us. And if you really fall in love with that person, if you end up getting married, I want you to make an even happier home than ours. Well, I think I'm getting more than a little ahead of myself here, but I want your future to be a bright and happy one. We both want you to be smiling forever and ever. That's our request to you, Sachi, who we named Happiness. I know it got a little long, but I think that's just about everything we needed to tell you. There's just one last thing. We love you might still be a little hard to swallow right now, so I'll put it like this. Thank you very much for being our daughter, Sachi. No, thank you, Mommy, Daddy. Sachi has the answer she'd been yearning to find since her childhood. I stand quietly at her side as the tears flow and stream down. I stand quietly at her side as tears flow in streams down her cheeks. I can't say for sure how it felt to read that letter. That's something only Sachi herself will ever know. But there's one thing I can say with some confidence. She won't be suffering from those nightmares again. Because right now, the words spilling from her mouth aren't, "I'm sorry," but "thank you." And while I might just be a completely deluded narcissistic moron, I'm pretty sure I also know what the next words out of her mouth are going to be. Yukon, I'm afraid I need to ask you a favor.
Oh, and what would that be?
Would you be so kind as to listen to this music box with me?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
And in PE class yesterday we played extreme sports for the first time in a while. And extreme sports is the name Yukon came up with for a team game we sometimes play, which involves... So Maki-chan managed to catch my line drive on the first hop and then fired it at Michiru-sama as she ran to the second base. However, Maki-chan doesn't have much of an arm, so it ended up falling a little short. But Michiru-sama managed to trip over her own feet into a head-first slide, so the ball bounced right off her head for the highlight reel out. I managed to safely reach the first base by that point, but those two really are amazing, don't you think? The hospital room is filled with a warm glow of afternoon sunlight. As a gentle breeze blows through the open window, Sachi chatters on, recounting the recent happenings at Mihama Academy. Unlike before, there's no trace of melancholy in her expression. Of course, that doesn't mean her mother's offering any reply. Even so, her sleeping face looks strangely peaceful. Somehow it makes me think of a parent affectionately half listening to her daughter's stories while doing housework. Excuse me, Kamina-san, I'm coming in. Oh. Hello there, Sachan. Visiting today as well, I see. The one-sided conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a familiar nurse who immediately greets the two of us. Good morning. Is it time to take a temperature? Yes, that's right. Don't worry, it won't take long. You can stick around. Thank you, but I think we'll be on our way now. We had just reached a good point to leave off. Really? Well, okay then, if you're sure. Yes, thank you. Still smiling, Sachi slowly rises from her seat. I follow suit, pushing myself off of my undersized folding chair. I'll come again soon, Mom. As she speaks, Sachi gently squeezes her mother's hand. Well then, I'm sorry for the bother, but please do look after Mom. Of course, Sachin. Make sure you work hard at school, okay? Certainly. Thank you very much. After exchanging polite little nods with the nurse, we quietly leave the hospital room.
You're really alright with that?
Alright with what exactly?
Wrapping up the visit so quickly?
Yes, that's plenty for today. Sachi seems to have grasped what I'm getting at, but her reply is strangely casual in tone.
Didn't you have more you wanted to talk about?
Well, yes, of course.
So why didn't you stay a little longer like the nurse suggested?
Because I didn't want to bother Mom by babbling on for hours.
What?
There are so many things I need to tell her about, you know? About my experiences during the years when I wasn't able to visit. About everything that's happened at Mihama Academy. And about you, Yukon. It would be quite a headache for Mom to have all that dumped on her at once, don't you think?
Yes, you've got a point.
Therefore, I'd like to visit many times and tell her my story little by little. There's no guilt or bitterness in Sachi's eyes as she speaks those words. They're the shining eyes of a child talking about a beloved parent.
I see. Fine, you've convinced me.
Thank you very much. What's more, we have a pressing appointment today. I assume you haven't forgotten, Yukon.
Oh, now that you mention it. Something about reverting to childhood and spending the whole day playing in the park, wasn't it?
Indeed. Look at this, Yukon. We have it all to ourselves. It's a private reservation. The moment she realizes the playground's empty, Sachi takes off at a gallop, practically floating off the ground with excitement. Today the two of us are playing in the park where we first met until Sachi's thoroughly satisfied. This is what she chose for her belated birthday present. Swing set, monkey bars, jungle gym, seesaw. This is truly something else. Even using every minute from now until midnight, I might not be able to experience all this playground has to offer.
How are you keeping a straight face right now?
It's quite easy when you're completely serious. As my birthday present to you, I'll accept any one request unconditionally, no matter how spoiled or selfish it may be. From the moment I made my offer, Sachi's been eagerly anticipating this day. I knew the girl never really lost her fundamental love for playing around outside, but it seems all those years of self-denial may have amplified her enthusiasm.
You seriously want to go straight through midnight? In some ways that might be harder than your average ranger training course.
You did promise to accept even the most selfish of demands unconditionally, did you not?
Yeah, that's what I said, but can we try to be a little realistic? Humans do have their limits.
Alright, then we'll just keep going until we hit this supposed limit. Come on, we'll start with the swings. Even as she speaks, Sachi is yanking impatiently on my arm.
You're not listening to a word I say, are you?
I may be grumbling, but for some mysterious reason there's a smile on my face. This is how it's been lately. We eat our meals together, we talk about nothing in particular and end up laughing. Every once in a while she pulls me around like this. Hackneyed stuff, the sort of thing I used to read about in cheap love stories. Maybe the happiness I wanted to help Sachi find was something as simple as that. Even after visiting that workshop, neither Sachi nor I believe that we've come to understand everything her mother and father were thinking. The feelings of two parents cut down by an accident in the middle of searching for their distraught child. That's probably something you can't fully understand until you have a family and children of your own. But there's one thing that's clear. The two of them wanted her to find happiness even greater than their own. In a way, that bittersweet knowledge will be Sachi's punishment from now on.
Her family, huh?
At the rate this relationship is going, the two of us might end up married. Maybe even have children of our own at some point. Kind of bizarre. In a way, I wouldn't have been capable of imagining such a future just a short month ago. But right now, it seems completely natural, even obvious. And if Sachi feels the same way, I don't think anything could make me happier.
Hey Sachi, I've got a suggestion to make if you're willing to listen.
If it involves cutting our playground time short, I'm not inclined to hear you out.
Yeah, that's not it. What do you think about getting married after we graduate from Mihama?
Married?
Yeah, even if I end up quitting my current job somewhere down the line, I'm confident I'll be able to feed the two of us. And I want you with me for the rest of my life, Sachi.
Wait, is this... Did you just propose to me?
I guess so.
I see. To be certain, if we get married, I'll be able to stay with you even after graduation. A very attractive offer indeed. Nodding to herself, Sachi slowly closes her eyes.
Guess it's decided then.
No, I refuse.
Say what?
Thrown off balance by this 180-degree reversal from her initial reaction, I do a bit of a double take. After all, I haven't seen you kick your shoe further than me yet. The mid-afternoon sun blazing down as if to insist summer's not over yet, is thoroughly outshone by a single dazzling smile. That smile belongs to a girl named Kumina Sachi. The only child of two people who treasured her above all else. The daughter of two parents who exchanged their ambitions for one simple wish. And today, I'm sure the two of them know that wish has been wholeheartedly inherited. Because the woman I love has found a smile so befitting of the name her parents gave her. Ooh. Okay, as you may have noticed, this was a pretty heavily cut episode. As you can hear on my voice, I'm not really fully over it yet. So, yeah, that was heavy. I've been through this story 3 times already before this. And it got me every time. Without a fall. Oh. Well, that has been the end of Sachi's route. So, in the next episode, we shall head back to where we did not choose to go with Sachi. And follow along the, I wouldn't say main storyline, but we should definitely choose another route, another girl down the line. But until then, take care.